RHOM's Julia Lemigova and Martina Navratilova called out for micro and macro aggressions towards Guerdy Abraira. Real Housewives of Miami fans were shocked when Julia Lemigova doused Guerdy Abraira with water. Now both Julia and her wife, Martina Navratilova, are slammed for the way that they treat Guerdy. During Season 7, Guerdy and Julia have been on the outs. It turns out that Julia harbored ill feelings resulting from a cruise with Guerdy. Of course, both RHOM stars have differing versions of events. Then Julia didn't tell Guerdy that she and Martina added 2 young boys to their family. This feud is getting ugly, and the Bravo fandom is speaking out about Martina and Julia's comments about Guerdy. Real Housewives of Miami viewers are concerned about Julia Lemigova and Martina Navratilova's language surrounding Guerdy Abraira. During a recent episode of RHOM, Julia blamed Guerdy for the water toss. She regretted allowing Guerdy to get the best of me. In her RHOM confessional, Guerdy shared her feelings about the incident. "I am actually sick to my stomach just thinking about it, because it was a physical, symbolic act, to degrade me to a level as if I was nothing. I've never felt that way before," Guerdy explained. Well, the Bravoverse weighed in on Julia and Martina's alleged micro and macro aggressions towards their former friend Guerdy. One user wrote on X, "I'm even more concerned that Julia and Martina are raising black boys and they don't see the problem with their micro and macro aggressions towards Guerdy. #RHOM. #RHOM. Another user posted via X, Julia saying she doesn't know if Guerdy can control herself when Julia was the one who was aggressive toward Guerdy. Yep, Karen behavior, and they chose to be parents to black boys in FL. Yikes. #RHOM. This situation is getting borderline toxic, and I'm not sure it can ever be resolved. In a turn of events that no Bravo fan saw coming, Real Housewives of Miami star Julia Lemigova and her wife, tennis legend Martina Navratilova, are at the center of a swirling controversy after being accused of both micro and macro aggressions toward fellow cast member Guerdy Abraira. What started as an emotional misunderstanding has morphed into a season-defining scandal that's igniting conversation across social media and forcing cast loyalties to shift faster than Miami weather. The friction between Julia and Guerdy had been simmering all season. Viewers noticed moments of awkwardness and tension, but it wasn't until Guerdy bravely brought the issue to light during a recent cast trip that the pot officially boiled over. In an emotionally charged scene over dinner, candles flickering and the Atlantic Ocean serving as a moody backdrop, Guerdy confronted Julia about what she described as constant subtle jabs, dismissive tones, and performative sympathy that left her feeling marginalized and diminished. "You hugged me on camera, Julia," Guerdy said, her voice trembling yet steady. "But off camera, you barely acknowledge my presence. I feel like I'm a prop in your storyline, a diversity decoration rather than a friend." Julia, visibly stunned, fumbled for words while Martina, seated at the opposite end of the table, narrowed her eyes and sipped her wine. The silence that followed was deafening. What was meant to be a celebratory evening spiraled into an emotionally raw and uncomfortable moment that shook even the most seasoned housewives. Social media exploded. The hashtag Justice for Guerdy trended within hours of the episode airing, with fans dissecting past interactions between Julia and Guerdy with a forensic level of detail. Many pointed to the innocent moments when Julia would interrupt Guerdy mid-sentence, roll her eyes during Guerdy's speeches, or question the intensity of Guerdy's emotions, particularly as she processed her cancer diagnosis. It wasn't just about one incident, fans argued. It was death by 1,000 passive-aggressive paper cuts. Martina's name entered the fray when Bravo cameras captured a previously unseen moment during a charity gala. Guerdy had just delivered a powerful speech about resilience and recovery when Martina, speaking to another guest, allegedly said, "She sure likes to make everything about herself, doesn't she?" Though Martina later claimed her words were taken out of context, the damage was done. Viewers began scrutinizing her every appearance, many calling her tone condescending and cold toward Guerdy. By the following episode, Guerdy had had enough. Sitting with close confidant Dr. Nicole Martin, she didn't hold back. "It's one thing to be excluded from lunch plans," she said. "It's another to feel like your very existence is a burden to someone topic within the Housewives fan base. Julia, who has often spoken about LGBT+ advocacy and her marriage to Martina as a symbol of progress, was now facing the harsh reality of what fans called selective empathy. "Being married to a marginalized icon doesn't give you a free pass," one fan wrote on Twitter. "You don't get to wave the rainbow flag and then trample on black women's feelings." It wasn't long before Julia took to Instagram with a carefully crafted post. Against a serene beach backdrop, she wrote, "I am deeply saddened by the recent conversations. I never intended to hurt Guerdy and regret any action that made her feel unseen. I vow to do better, listen more, and learn from this moment." Martina followed suit with a more pointed message. "I'm not a housewife. I'm not interested in drama. But I am interested in growth. If my words hurt Guerdy, I apologize. That was never my intention." But the damage control came a little too late for some fans and cast members. Dr. Nicole publicly sided with Guerdy, as did Lisa Hochstein, who noted in a confessional, "There's a difference between being clueless and being careless, and Julia's been teetering that line for a while." Even Alexia Napola, who has had her share of drama with Guerdy, expressed support, saying, "This is bigger than housewives beef. This is about how we treat each other as women of color and allies." Bravo producers reportedly called for a mediation sit-down between Julia and Guerdy, which will air in the reunion episode. Sources say it was tense but cathartic, with both women shedding tears and agreeing to continue the conversation off-camera. Still, fans remain divided. Some believe Julia is being unfairly villainized and argue that reality TV isn't always the best lens through which to judge someone's character. Others say this is exactly why such behavior needs to be called out on a public platform. "This isn't cancel culture," one Reddit user wrote. "It's accountability culture." Guerdy spoke her truth, and it hit a nerve because it needed to. Meanwhile, Guerdy has continued to rise above the chaos, using the moment to advocate for empathy, inclusivity, and genuine friendships. In a heartfelt blog post titled "See Me, Hear Me," Guerdy wrote, "Too often, women like me are praised for our strength while being denied our softness. I don't want to just be strong. I want to be supported. I want to be seen in my wholeness, not just when the cameras are rolling." As the season barrels toward its dramatic finale, one thing is clear. RHOM isn't just about lavish lifestyles and catfights anymore. It's become a platform for confronting real issues, sometimes messy, always raw, and ultimately necessary. Whether Julia and Martina can bounce back from this remains to be seen. But Guerdy's voice has never been louder, and the message is reverberating far beyond Miami's sandy shores.